back live to Las Vegas, but first, let's take a videotape memory stroll. 15 years ago tonight, April 15, 1985, marvelous Marvin Hagler against Thomas Hitman Hearns in the fight that so many general sports fans will always remember as the three most unforgettable rounds of boxing they ever saw. The first round was a pitched battle. In the second round, as they stood toe-to-toe and blasted away, Hagler was bleeding badly. In the third round, he asserted his physical dominance in the fight, and though Thomas Hearns would ultimately barely beat the 10 count here, a young Richard Steele stopped the fight and mercifully relieved Hearns from taking any more punishment from marvelous Marvin Hagler, who that night scored the most definitive and memorable victory of his great career. It was 15 years ago tonight. Do you remember where you were for Hagler Hearns? And can we expect anything in the way of that kind of scintillating action from the two fighters you're about to see tonight? Modern-day versions of Hagler and Hearns, Fernando Vargas and Ike Quartey. Well, Vargas had a less than impressive outing in his last fight against Winky Wright, but still he is unbeaten. A lot of people thought that Wright should have been given the decision against him. Many of them the same people who probably believe that Ike Quartey should have gotten better than he got from the judges in his fight against Oscar De La Hoya. So who wins tonight? In the 147 and 154-pound divisions, there have been several marquee fights over the past year. Tonight, it's 22-year-old 154-pound champion Fernando Vargas' turn in the spotlight as he takes on Ike Quartey.
The round robin is beginning, much as it was in the 80s with the great welterweights there, and they can only win because that's the only way they're going to get to a certain level and be considered an all-time great, is if they all fight each other.
At 16, Fernando Vargas became the youngest ever United States amateur champion. 2 years later, he was the youngest American on the Olympic boxing team. In December 1998, he became the youngest ever 154-pound champion, beating Yori Boy Campos.
I was able to dethrone a great fighter, and, you know, and not knowing that I'm becoming the youngest to do so at that point either, you know, I was just, you know, ecstatic that I was able to become world champ.
After 17 consecutive knockouts, Vargas won a majority decision last December over Winky Wright. He blames his sluggish performance on a family crisis, while still facing assault charges for which he will go on trial in May.
I'm going to be fully vindicated, I'm going to be fully innocent, but I put myself in that position. No one else. I learned. I'm the one that's going to take full responsibility.
Determined to turn the focus back to where it was when he fought the likes of Campos, Vargas now works with a physical fitness expert to control his diet and improve his endurance and flexibility.
You know, I just love the workout. You know, it's a great workout, stretching, everything. I never stretched before, and I think in April 15th is going to show.
Now in his 19th pro bout, Vargas has a career-defining fight as he seeks further recognition and respect.
This is my 4th world champion that I'm fighting back-to-back. I'm showing that with my actions that I duck no fighter. These are risks I want to take to show the people what they want to see. They want to see a fighter that's going to go out there and fight these top-notch fighters.
Ike Quartey, a former 147-pound champion, seemed destined for greatness after a 3-round stoppage of Vince Phillips back in 1996. But a planned fight with Felix Trinidad was suppressed by politics, and Pernell Whitaker's substance abuse KO'd a possible Whitaker-Quartey showdown.
I think it's hard, you know, because, you know,
it was hard because I like to fight every 3-4 months. I don't want to fight the small names because I am one of the best, and I've proven that to the world. They wanted me to fight Bronco McCart. I said, no, I don't think so.
I just want to fight a big fight. Yeah.
After a 16-month layoff, Quartey got his wish against Oscar De La Hoya. He built an early lead, but faded in the end, losing a split decision following a disastrous final round.
It was sad, you know.
It was sad. It was like you have something someone takes away from you. I won that fight. It wasn't a close fight. But what goes around comes around. Look at De La Hoya Trinidad. I don't think Trinidad won that fight. What they did to me, they now did to Oscar.
Quartey feels stronger at 154 than he did at 147 and doesn't believe the 22-year-old Vargas is ready for his challenge.
There's no way I'll lose this fight.
There is no way I'll lose this fight. I've dedicated my life to this, doing everything possible to win. He is young, inexperienced, has fought nobody, hasn't been to a war. Fernando Vargas will not be a problem for Ike Quartey.
Both fighters are acutely aware of what's at stake. For the 30-year-old Quartey, this may be one of his last chances. For the young champion, this could be his springboard into boxing's elite.
I envision a long fight. I think they'll wait for their openings, and Quartey has to depend on his advantage in strength and his great jab to win, and Vargas has to depend on being busy and kind of ring generalship.
Everything is at stake. If I win, mega stardom, mega fighter, pound for pound, one of the best. That fight about me with De La Hoya would just spring up in people's minds, and fight with Trinidad, I would love a fight like that. Right after this one.
Yeah, this is very important.
I have to win this fight to prove that I'm one of the best fighters in the world. If winning this fight means a fight against Trinidad for unification, I want to fight Trinidad.
Tonight, Fernando Vargas and Ike Quartey attempt not only to define the immediate future of the sport's most competitive weight class, they will also establish the trajectories of their respective boxing careers. And we bring you back live to Las Vegas, where it's an active night and a beautiful one along the Strip, but by far the biggest hotspot in town, the Mandalay Bay Event Center, as we get ready for this much-anticipated fight between Vargas and Quartey. Well, attentive viewers, Larry, will note the new Rodman-esque all-blonde do for Quartey, and that Vargas has regrown his hair after having done the reverse Samson number in December against Winky Wright. So how will the new do's help the two fighters in the ring?
This is one of those what gets into people moments, Jim. Quartey was so depressed by the result of that split decision loss to Oscar De La Hoya that he looked for a quick fix. He tried to restore himself by turning himself into a blonde bombshell, and he looks pretty cute at it. Vargas, on the other hand, was depressed before his last fight with Winky Wright, and you see there is how he used to look with those distinctive bleached bangs, and then he came out as a bald bomber for that fight with Winky Wright. Tonight, he's grown some of the hair back, but without the bleach. What does this all mean in the infinite scheme of things? Who knows? One thing for sure, if this fight isn't fought in a telephone booth, as the saying goes, maybe it'll be fought in a hair salon.
Vargas, incidentally, has a new body to go with his new hair, new physical fitness trainer, new nutrition program, weight training, etc., etc. But, George, young Fernando had what amounted to a near-title death experience in his last fight against Winky Wright. Some people say he was exposed in that fight as a limited fighter. Was he, or was it good to have that kind of unexpected test before he comes on to his biggest moment on the stage?
Well, for a boxer, you're probably the most frightening foe is you don't know what uncertainty.
Yeah, not knowing
what happens if it's all happened to him. He's going to be better because of it. Everything that could happen has happened.
All right, so having been to the pit of desperation against Wright, George Foreman says that Vargas will be the better for it tonight. Tail of the tape between Fernando Vargas and Ike Quartey, and you can see that ferocious Fernando Vargas could have been called precocious Fernando Vargas as he reaches this momentous stage of his career at only age 22. Vargas 2 inches taller, 3 inches longer reach. They both weighed in under the limit, and the scales of the Nevada State Athletic Commission, which is studying the subject of how much weight fighters put on in the wake of weigh-ins the day before the fight, show Vargas at 162 tonight, Quartey at 160. Punch that numbers, Larry.
Here's how active they are. Quartey is the more active fighter, mainly because of his jab. He has one of the biggest jabs in the sport. He almost abandoned it against Oscar De La Hoya to employ a different kind of tactic. Tonight, we want to see if he's going to go back to what his best weapon was.
Rules of the bout with our unofficial ringside scorer, Harold Letterman.
The ferocious Fernando Vargas-Ike Quartey fight is scheduled for 12 rounds using the unified rules of the Association of Boxing Commissions. There is no standing 8 count, no 3 knockdown rule. Only the referee can stop the fight, and you cannot be saved by the bell at any round, including the 12th and final round.
Ladies and gentlemen, coming to the ring, the African Warrior. the Aztec Warrior.
What you're watching is an Aztec warrior dance. Fernando Vargas considers himself an Aztec warrior. Is the new low-fat Fernando Vargas. We never thought he was high-fat, but his body, compared to what it was a few months ago, is amazingly trim and muscular.
Yeah, he looks sensational. He looks the way he did as an amateur, pure, ready, fit. And in case you're looking for further physical advantages for Vargas, consider this. In the last 30 months, while Quartey has been in the ring once against Oscar De La Hoya, Fernando Vargas has had 12 fights, 11 of them knockout victories. California's Fernando Vargas. 17 knockouts in a row to begin his professional career, including the rampant destruction of Yori Boy Campus that made him the youngest champion ever in this weight class. And then the 12-round struggle with Winky Wright in December, a majority decision, overall 18-0. While you're watching the fight tonight, we invite you to log on to hbo.com/boxing, where you'll be able to score each round, spend some time chatting with Steve Farhood and other boxing fans, and answer our question for the night: who's the best 154-pound boxer in the game today? Is it Fernando Vargas, Ike Quartey, or Felix Trinidad? We'll tabulate the results and give them to you at the end of the evening. Now let's go up to ring announcer Michael Buffer for the official introduction.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the Mandalay Bay of Las Vegas, Main Event presents two warriors, one war for the junior middleweight championship of the world. Brought to you in association with Miller Lite and two landmarks of Las Vegas, the Mandalay Bay Resort Casino and the home of legends, Caesar's Palace. This 12-round contest is sanctioned by the Nevada State Athletic Commission, Chairman Dr. Elias Ghanem, Commissioners Glenn Carano, Amy Ayub, Lorenzo Fertitta, and Dr. Luther Mack. Executive Director Mark Ratner. Lead physician Dr. Flip Pomansky. Physicians at ringside Dr. James Game, Dr. Margaret Goodman, and Dr. Jeff Davidson. Timekeepers Al Bicep and Jane Broadfoot. This bout is also sanctioned by the IBF. Supervisor at ringside for the IBF, Darrell Peoples. The three judges scoring this contest on a 10-point must system will be Glenn Hamada, Dave Moretti, and Jerry Roth. And for the 130th time in a world title bout, your referee in charge of the action, Joe Cortez. And now, ladies and gentlemen, for the sold-out thousands in attendance, and the millions watching around the world on HBO World Championship Boxing. Let's get ready to rumble! Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner, wearing yellow with green and black. He weighed in at 152 pounds and brings an outstanding professional record to the ring. 36 bouts, 34 victories, including 29 knockouts, with only 1 loss and 1 draw. Tonight, he proudly represents his African heritage as a challenger in search of his 2nd world championship. Ladies and gentlemen, here is the pride of Accra, Ghana, Africa, the former welterweight champion of the world, Fight Bazooka Quartey! And his opponent across the ring, fighting out of the red corner, wearing brown and weighing in at 153.5 pounds. A 1996 Olympian who was denied gold, but now has a perfect professional record consisting of 18 bouts, 18 victories, with 17 knockouts, and he's the youngest ever to capture this title. And tonight, he faces, for the 4th consecutive time, a world championship fighter. Ladies and gentlemen, from La Colonia, Jim Oxnard, California, presenting the reigning and defending undefeated junior middleweight champion of the world, the Aztec warrior, ferocious Fernando Vargas.
All right, gentlemen, we went over the rules in the dressing room. I expect a good, clean fight. Obey my commands at all times. He just punches up. Your trunk's a little high here, Fernando. Yours a little high also. Keep the punches up, understand? Give me a good, clean fight. Remember, guys, I'm fair, but I'm firm. Understand? Touch him up.
We all know how good a fighter Art Quartey has been. Ultimately, what this fight is about is to find out how good a fighter Fernando Vargas can be, and whether he will make a real mark on his game.
As they take off their robes, Vargas looks impressive with his newly trained physique. Quartey looks spectacular, as he always has. Question 1, can Quartey get that bazooka jab going in rhythm? If he does, can Vargas do anything to stop it? Chopping right hand over the top by Vargas. Quartey didn't like it.
Quartey has got to establish his left jab, make it the main punch of his repertoire, make certain he reestablishes who he is. He started from the bottom, had to fight himself all the way up to the top, beat that again. Vargas, be strong every round. Let this man know, I belong in this weight class. You jump.
Vargas acknowledged in our conversation, Quartey has a great jab, one of the best in the sport. He said there are a lot of things you can do against a fighter with a great jab, but he hinted that he would try to land his own jab first, begin the exchanges, and upset Quartey's rhythm that way.
Vargas, you can't stand back in boxing. You got to put your weight and authority on this guy.
Trying to bust a right hand through Quartey's guard. Quartey down twice against De La Hoya, both times on left hooks. A combination that Jose Luis Lopez found that gave Quartey trouble in the late rounds. Straight right hand, followed by the left hook. The logic tells you Vargas will try to set up left hooks, and Quartey will try to go through him with his bombardier jab.
Already Vargas is allowing Quartey to step forward and take control of the fight. When it's time to move around, it hasn't been Quartey yet. You don't want that.
monster is it? Saying, hey, De La Hoya and Trinidad are very good fighters. Vargas isn't in their league. Vargas has much to prove tonight. Good left hook by Vargas. Finished the rally.
I was saying all it takes is one good shot to come in that lead. May be able to land it and jump into that lead.
Little grin on Quartey's face as he steps in. Hard left hook by Quartey.
Quartey does not want to get into a slugging battle with this big, strong champion.
Dropping right hand by Quartey, landed to the neck of Vargas. Round one has been a round in which both fighters have had their moment. Vargas tries to steal it with a little rally at the end. In Vargas' corner, our Spanish interpreter is Ray Torres.
It's all yours. It's yours. You got him. Just be alert. You got to be alert. And then nobody's going to beat you. Nobody can beat you if you're alive, if you're vivid. You surprised him and you got him already.
In Quartey's corner, where they speak the Ghanaian tribal language, Ga, our interpreter is Jerry Oku.
Try to don't come up. Don't come up. Just put your hands together. Okay? Put your hands together. You know, this round wasn't so good. Let the round be a better one. This one wasn't so good.
There was one punch in this round that got Quartey's attention right there. You see him jump up on both feet.
CompuBox numbers, round one was a very good one for Fernando Vargas, who was seen by CompuBox to land 33 of 64 punches, 52%. Quartey, 15 out of 46, and 31 of his 46 punches were jabs. Vargas begins to open up a little bit to begin round two, seemingly believing that his power punches are having an early effect on Quartey.
Quartey has got a step left jab, step right jab. You don't want to follow this big, strong guy around. After he hits you with one, you're back into his face again. That's not what you want.
Get him out of there.
Step to him and away. Away and then to him.
And while Vargas hinted that he would try to out-jab Quartey, early on it looks to me, George, as though he wants to duck or slip or step around Quartey's jab and counter it.
When you're an experienced fighter and fighting a guy with this amount of inexperience, you allow yourself to stand in position and take his shots because you know he doesn't exactly know what he's doing.
We used to see Quartey fight this way. He would let the other guy shoot his bolt, and then he would try to come on. But he may be against a young man with a lot of bolts to shoot.
The inexperienced fighters, they will throw a lot of shots. They don't have any purpose to them.
Well, from what I see, Vargas has a purpose in everything he's doing.
No, he hasn't gone to the body yet. Then he hasn't faked to come up with a hard shot. He's throwing good shots, but without a purpose.
I agree with you, George, about the body. Nobody's ever punished Quartey to the body, and Vargas is a vicious body puncher when he gets it going.
If you're in the ring and if a guy just hitting you, he doesn't know why, then that's good.
Trading right hands with Quartey, pounding Quartey into the corner, and Vargas trying to show Quartey he's the man, and Quartey's the boy. Big left hook. Vargas doing an effective job of blocking Quartey's stuff, and landed one thunderous left hook and a right hand there.
Quartey doesn't like being against the rope.
He's got to find a way to get out of this.
He hasn't been able to defend himself against the rope.
Vargas is getting a lot of damage done in there. Another big left hook. Quartey with a right uppercut. Vargas won't move. Back to the body. Back upstairs.
He went to the body, Quartey did.
Great body shot by Quartey. They both raised in the body. What a vicious exchange. Advantage Vargas.
I like Vargas going to the body. Don't just throw it all to the head.
Blood trickling from the right nostril of Fernando Vargas. And after the counter leg kick inside by Quartey, but most of the damage was done by ferocious Fernando.
Sit down. Sit down. Come on, we need you to sit down. Hey, this was a tough round.
Don't forget to hit him in the body.
You gotta use your intelligence, and you need to move. You gotta take some, put some distance between you.
Okay. Breathe in, breathe in, breathe in. Breathe hard. Breathe hard. Breathe hard again. You know, when you come back, you drop your left. Don't drop the left again. You understand? You understand? You know, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go.
Vargas sent a message to the older fighter in this round. He's not afraid of him. He wants to go toe-to-toe with him. He wants to exert his youth, his strength, his ambition, his hunger.
CompuBox numbers in the first couple of rounds. Quartey averaging over 25 jabs thrown per round, but only landing 30%.
Quartey is still aimlessly following this champion around. You've got to step to the left and right if you want to follow him. Don't go straight into him.
I still come back to the inactivity, George. I know you say it's okay, but to me, Quartey is a rhythm fighter, and rhythm fighters need to fight. He does not have the jab going early against Vargas the way he does when he's at his best.
But to effectively use a good left jab, you got to have a guy coming to you. It's hard to step out and jab. So this guy is not giving him that kind of fight to really show off a left jab. He's the aggressor. Of course, he didn't expect that.
Quartey said his chances of winning in this fight were 95%. I think they might have gone down a little bit, even in his estimation.
Big right hand by Quartey.
And that's what you don't want in a young fighter, to have his best round, and then the following round, the challenger comes on and puts hard right hands on you.
Vargas missing with his power shots in this round after landing them in the first two rounds. And Quartey landing his power shots in this round and getting off first in the exchanges. So this round has been a big one so far for the Ghanaian star.
They've got the best referee in the business. No doubt about it. Stays out of the way of the action. Does everything with his voice.
And you would say that even if he weren't the man who just happened to count out Michael Moore November 5, 1994.
Not even thinking of that.
I know. You don't remember, I do.
He should have stopped Moore from hitting me.
No, he's the best referee in the business, George. He wouldn't have done that.
Quartey has established his jab, and then he's establishing the pocket. When this guy throws his shots, he doesn't jump away, sort of stands there and wait until he finishes. There's the jab.
Round 3 is big psychologically for Quartey.
There's the jab.
Getting him back into the fight. Vargas losing all of the momentum that he established in the first two rounds. There's a body shot for Vargas.
Vargas does not want to turn this into a boxing match. He wants to extort his authority and his power and his strength, make this guy Quartey back up all night.
Fernando Vargas grew up without a father, but he's very close to those members of his family who travel with him. Fernando's girlfriend, Martha Lopez. Mother of his son, Fernando Vargas Jr.
Okay, it's good work. Let us go, B. He's going to get tired. You're going to get him with a few rounds. Use your intelligence, and you'll be all right. You better be smart and sharp. That's all we need to do. Stay focused. A little bit more, and you got it.
Okay, you know, you're just following him, and you're not doing so much. You got to follow him and throw punches. Throw the punches.
Quartey late in the round, right hand, high in the head. Another one for the jog, but Vargas rode with the punch.
Round 3 was a round of inactivity for both fighters. 45 punches for Quartey, 43 for Vargas. Each landed 18, but Quartey seemed to have the tactical advantage through much of the round. Now Vargas comes back out to try to reestablish the initiative in round 4.
This is what you want the younger fighter to do. Throw his best shot early on, and then listen to his corner tell him, go to the body, go on top, counter. That's the way you do it. And I think this is happening with Quartey so far. Push his corner into trying to give him some advice late into the fight. Rather than telling him, you got him, you got him.
Quartey's fans must be surprised to see their man circling backward and trying to stay out of range with Quartey. I mean, correct myself. Vargas's fans must be surprised to see ferocious Fernando circling backward and trying to stay out of range. Now he steps back in and re-engages Quartey. But the strategy he's chosen to try to negate Quartey's jab has him doing things that don't come naturally to him as a fighter.
Second time.
The referee warned him the second time.
But those are borderline punches.
I thought they were clean. Because their trunks were so high.
Vargas pounds his right hand through the guard twice. Simple 1-2 combination working for Vargas, who's been able to land his jab with greater consistency than Quartey has landed his. Good straight left hand shot by Quartey.
Vargas starts to get his right foot closer and closer to the ropes. And every time he touches those ropes with that right foot, he panics.
Left uppercut lands for Vargas. Quartey with the body shot.
I think Quartey has just a little too much confidence that the fight can just go into his...
He gets a chance for a break, and there's a 1-point deduction against Vargas. Potentially significant in a close fight.
All right. You all right? All right, time in.
And we'll see what that does to Fernando's concentration. Vargas kept his eyes on the Ghanaian star Quartey throughout the entire delay. Right hand lands glancing blow on the front of Quartey's cheek. Vargas trying to step in a little closer.
I think Vargas is doing a great job of just stepping back, allowing Quartey to step right into his power.
With the 1-point deduction, Vargas probably avoided a 2-point round against him in that fight by flurrying so well toward the end of the round.
Very professional.
Let's take some air in. Don't worry about it. Come on, let's get some air in there. Breathe in deep.
Listen, as long as you're stepping around him and keeping that circle.
Step back and start the combination from under. Try to throw the right hook. Every time you get close to him, throw the right hook. Come on, take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath.
I question whether Vargas earned a warning on that punch. It was a clean punch, George, as you observed earlier, but it wound up costing Vargas a point when this punch was not a clean punch.
Sometimes the referee looks at things before.
Yep. Harold, how do you have it through 4?
There's no doubt those points for the low blows, you know, they can be very, very telling in a close fight. 38-37. When Fernando Vargas lost that point, that made it an even round, 9-9, because I thought Vargas won a round and then loses a point, so it becomes 9-9. So it's 2-1 in rounds. 38-37, Fernando Vargas. Vargas by 1 point because for the first 2 rounds, he was getting into power shots. Then he went backwards and Quartey won the 3rd. I thought Vargas won the 4th.
Challenge to Vargas's ring generalship tonight. taking on the vastly more experienced, presumably more sophisticated fighter in Quartey. Their heads come together, no buts.
I think Quartey is underestimating the size of the champion. You just can't follow them around and absorb punishment like that round after round and still think that you can pull it out in another round.
Obviously, Quartey thinks that he's the stronger man, George.
But he is not.
He's fighting as though he believes he is.
He's chasing a bear, and that bear is moving. He's got footwork, he's dancing, but he's got power. Point is, once you catch up with them, you're so tired and you're so weak because of the power they put on you that you can't do anything.
When you think of the later rounds of the fight, on those few occasions when he's had to go some rounds, Vargas has shown the pattern of getting stronger and better as the fight goes on. Quartey, on the other hand, seemed to come apart in the late rounds against Lopez, came apart in the 12th round against De La Hoya, had trouble in the late rounds against Obacar.
He's coming in a straight line. He's not going left or right. Quartey should be a bit mobile.
But if he can get his jab going and begin to knock Vargas off balance with the jab, he can make this work for him.
He's walking Vargas down, but he's catching it as he comes.
Quartey trying to just reply. Relentless pressure. Keep Vargas backing up. Go through him. Vargas trying to use Quartey's momentum the way a hitter uses a fastball and turn it around on him.
I think it's a mistake to just push your wheel on this guy and not try to win these rounds on your jab and your boxing ability. And that's what Quartey is doing. These are rounds that he could have won if he just landed a few more shots.
And again, a late round flurry. And again, a tough round to score. And the crowd rises in appreciation of the action.
Here we see Vargas, who has experienced all of his career fighting older and stronger guys, knowing how to cope with an experienced, very strong, talented fighter. Sometimes he backs up and counterpunches. Sometimes he goes forward and takes the lead. He was the youngest amateur champion ever in this country. He was the youngest Olympian in 1996. He was the youngest champion in this division. He's always fought bigger, stronger guys, and he knows he respects them. You can watch and see how he respects them, and yet he's not afraid of them.
Precocious Fernando Vargas. CompuBox numbers in the fifth. Vargas throwing 76 punches to 56 for Quartey. Quartey landing at the higher rate, but Vargas finishing with the flurry.
Quartey was able to land his best right hand early on. It had no effect on Vargas. At this point, you got to try to get in more punches than him and win these rounds.
Quartey down twice against De La Hoya, down twice against Jose Luis Lopez. He says that was the product of weakening himself by trying to make weight at 147 pounds.
He's trying to get closer and closer for his left hook, Quartey is. And as soon as he gets close, Vargas lets something go.
Chopping right hand by Quartey. Vargas with a left hand in return. Oh, big uppercut by Vargas. Well-timed right hand uppercut. Landed flush and hurt Quartey. Vargas drives him into the rope. Tries to capitalize. Body shot. Quartey to the body. Vargas with a left hook. Quartey lands the uppercut. Right hand blocked. Quartey misses the uppercut.
You know, it's interesting, George, that Quartey throws more awkward punches in close. Vargas gets real good leverage on his punches in there, and it doesn't seem that Quartey does.
Big right hand by Vargas in tight.
Quartey just believes that he can out-punch this big guy. I don't think so. Some point you just got to say to yourself, this guy is bigger.
They trade vicious body shots. Cortez breaks him up to warn Quartey about the low blow. Vargas comes back with combinations. Quartey fires away in return. What a round 6 has been.
This is world-class stuff, guys.
Fernando Vargas believes he has Quartey ready to go. Bazooka pounds away, coming back. It's a street fight in the Mandalay Bay, and it's the fight of the year so far.
Okay. Take a deep breath. Come on. All right. Take a deep breath. Breathe in. Don't stand. Don't let him hit you. Don't let him hit you. Okay. Don't allow him. You know, he's tired. You know, so breathe in. Are you tired? Okay.
Okay, let's get to it. That's the way you gotta do. You gotta get him there with the uppercut, and you're gonna do that. The uppercut and the left hook, that's what's gonna do it for you.
There you see the body punch by Vargas. The importance of this, fellas, may be this. That the uppercut. That we have seen that Quartey has stamina problems late in his fights. In all the fights we saw, he slowed down at the end of his fights. These kinds of rounds are going to bring on that stamina problem as it still exists.
Meanwhile, Vargas has been promoting his new body, his fitness trainer, his nutrition program, and if ever a fighter needed a round to rest, it would be Vargas here. He threw 95 punches in the last round, almost all of them power shots, landed 50. That takes a lot out of you. If he can do anything in this round, his conditioning is indeed superb. And here he goes.
Quartey just cannot believe this guy still has the strength and determination.
That's the arrogance of Quartey.
He doesn't believe it. He must believe.
Look at Fernando go.
You see, now in that situation, after a flurry like that, in previous fights, Quartey has come on and issued his barrage. But in this fight, Vargas isn't letting him do that.
Quartey is starting to give Vargas the chance to load his right hand and tee off.
There's a lot of difference between this fight and the first fight. Quartey's got a left hook and a right hand. He can pull this thing out.
Oh, yeah. He can retaliate at any moment. But if it continues to go this way for 12 rounds, then you may be watching the making of a young American superstar. A fighter who will bring a lot of people into the tent because he hits and gets hit.
But he also shows ring intelligence as well. This is not just a brawler.
Oh, no, this is not a Turigati. This is somebody who can box, but whose instinct is to fight.
Quartey shows no respect for his elders.
Quartey understands that, look, I've got the experience here, and he hasn't started to pay yet. You know why? Because this man is fast. Not only is he bigger, but he's fast. The champion.
Fernando Vargas seeming to hold the edge through the first 6 rounds of the fight. The against Ike Quartey. Quartey, like a dangerous time bomb, his amazing strength still apparent as he grins and fires and tries to come back on Vargas. Once again, Vargas pounds Quartey against the ropes. Vargas able to step back and slip the uppercut and then come right back. Left hook landed, right hand landed. Vargas pounding Quartey with power step.
That's just fight back.
What a round!
Okay. All right. All right. Breathe in. Breathe in. You are giving him too much chance. Don't be on the ropes. You're giving him too much chance when you get on the ropes. Come on. Stay away from the ropes. Stay away from the ropes. Don't be on the ropes. Do something.
He's got nothing on you. You got him. That SOB. In this round, we got him. We left him with nothing. He's got nothing left. No, that's for your son. The son that you have coming. Save his victories for him.
All right.
Lively and vivid. Let's go.
Fernando Vargas is breathing hard. But after throwing 95 punches in the 6th round, he came back to throw 91 in the 7th and landed 29 big power shots.
Is he not pacing himself correctly, George?
Well, this is one of those fights. If he doesn't really get out there and give it all he has, this guy could run over him. So pacing yourself is not a good idea now.
And that's what his corner was telling him, too. They said, step it up, keep going. You got him going, we need more.
So you just got to put it all on the table. This is one of those fights you just can't hold anything back.
Fernando's showing tremendous confidence in his conditioning. But as you say, George, he's really got no choice. Quartey looks pretty well conditioned, too.
Quartey, he's the guy you want to make him hold back with this overconfidence that I'm going to get stronger. He's going to get weaker. Let the old veteran do that.
One difference you can see in the two fighters, so far at least, Vargas far more of a two-fisted fighter here than Quartey. Quartey's left hand has been a factor in the bout, but his right hand is not. Vargas has made both of his fists important in the flow of the fighting.
Quartey is doing a good job with his left jab, an occasional right hand. He's doing everything right, but Vargas seems to always have a little something in the bank. There's that good left jab again.
There's a 5-punch combination by Vargas. Good left hook by Vargas. Quartey with the left hand to stop it in midstream. Quartey still stalking and setting up. Stalking and setting up. Following the puncher around the ring.
He was able to jump in a good right hand. It's like sprinting for 50 yards. So it takes a lot out of you when you throw those hard right hands. I don't know if I'm a judge and I'm not going to pay much attention to this challenger following this champion around with a good jab.
That's a very good idea.
Vargas had better make this guy back away some himself.
Well, I think if I were Fernando, I would try to land to the body and take away whatever's left of Quartey's mobility. Tune in for the next edition of HBO's documentary series, 4th of the 20th Century, Bill Russell, My Life, My Way. We'll examine the leader of the famed Boston Celtic dynasty, who also won NCAA championships and Olympic gold along the way. Russell's life, philosophies, and principles also revealed. And you'll see why Bill Russell was one of the great winners of all time. Bill Russell. Russell, My Life, My Way, coming to HBO this Monday, April 17.
All right, you make sure as soon as he kicks there, you throw combination real fast. 4, 5, 6 punches. You gotta stop him. When you have him in the corner, on the rope, let it go. Throw him. Fucking a lot of punches.
All right, let it go.
Don't stay there.
Round 9 of a scheduled 12. It's been a brilliant battle so far. Harold Letterman, how do you have it through 8?
77-74, 5-2-1 even. Ferocious Fernando Vargas. I want to tell you, as I see this fight, the key to this thing is when Quartey comes forward, he throws one jab. He doubles nothing. It's one jab. Fernando Vargas plays great combination shots, and Quartey's trying to win it, throwing one single jab. It ain't working.
Harold, that's the biggest difference in the fight. Quartey lands one punch at a time. Vargas repeatedly has landed punches and bunches.
Well, one reason being that Vargas uses more of the ring, isn't afraid to go backward, doesn't let him get into the ribbon that he wants to be in.
Oh, best right hand of the night by Quartey. I mean, it hurt. It hurt.
Yep, Vargas slightly wobbled by that right hand from Quartey.
And now your corner man has got to tell him now to keep your hands up. This guy's following you, and the straight line is kind of broken up now.
And the big right hand has brought a trickle of blood from the left nostril of Fernando Vargas. And suddenly this round becomes an interesting exercise for Vargas as he appears to have been hurt.
There it is again.
Big right hand.
There it is over and over.
And again. Vargas on the defensive. Quartey's biggest round so far.
Every time he hits him with 2, he's the last one to get back. That's challenging.
Quartey grinning as though he thinks he finally walked his man back.
Now he jabs him. After he finishes, he jabs him back. The challenger.
Good right hand. Out goes the mouthpiece, and Quartey landed that stunning right cross. And Vargas fighting hard back now with no mouthpiece in his mouth. Steady stuff from Vargas, who was badly hurt by the right hand.
Quartey is thinking only of a right hand now. There it is. It's about right hand, nothing else. The jab is only a coin.
And now Joe Cortez finds the lull in the action necessary to give Vargas back his mouthpiece. Crowd wanted to see him keep going.
Yeah, you want to wait until the action breaks a little bit and give him back his mouthpiece. He deserves his teeth.
Well, I told you in the last round that Quartey's right hand hadn't been a big factor. He's landed 3 huge right hands across Vargas' chops in this round. But Vargas still fighting back.
Quartey is going to the body now with that right uppercut. That hurt. Ice green and gold is doing it. Back to the chest with a left hook.
Huge round for Quartey, punishing Vargas on various fronts. Right hand lands again.
Well, remember, we got to think about how is the corner going to refresh the champions. Vargas need a refreshing. That's right, you got to stay on him, Vargas.
Fernando trying to close the round with one of his patented rallies. And he walks out of the night after taking some thunderous shots from Quartey.
Okay, keep it up. Keep it up. The same way. Keep the pressure up. Just keep the same pressure. Keep the jab. Then, this is how I want you to control the fight. Don't let him control the fight. You control the fight. Come on.
You gotta be more intelligent and faster than him. You gotta close with a combination, with a lot of combinations. Don't dilly-dally, don't punch it. You gotta close.
Here you see Quartey in the best moments of the fight for him, making you wonder a little bit, as we remarked earlier, whether Vargas had gone at too fast a pace in the middle rounds.
This is what happens when experience kicks in. You've got to be able to do it with your inexperience, with your enthusiasm. Just keep throwing shots.
Fight is on the line now as we go to the 10th. Still well within range for Quartey if Harold Letterman's scorecard is in line with the official one.
Good combination.
Quartey apparently sensing that he's behind in the fight, opening up, taking a few more chances, particularly to try to land his right hand over the top. And it works in the 9th.
Quartey is the whole fight he's been looking for knockouts. All he's doing there is constantly pursuing it even more.
Chopping left hand landed for Quartey. Vargas not quite as confident as he was through the first 8 rounds. And not quite as much snap on Vargas's punches now, as he fights a little more defensively, trying to keep Quartey off of him.
This may be the best thing for the champion, to keep moving around in boxing, protect yourself. Vargas is a good boxer. Oh, he's only reaching out with those power shots now, Vargas. Now has Quartey enough to finish him out?
Well, it's a good question, George.
He was hit with a lot of shots early in the fight.
And he has shown a stamina problems in late rounds before.
And they trade to the body as Vargas tries to take some of the sap out of Quartey's shot. Vargas seemingly now regaining his footing. His confidence coming back a little bit. Quartey hasn't landed one of those big rights here in the 10th round.
Quartey had a chance, and he let it slip. You just can't just wait till next time. You better do it this time.
And Vargas again drives Quartey to the ropes with left hook. Goes to the body. Lands an uppercut. Quartey lands a counter right. At center ring, Vargas beating Quartey to the punch. Quartey comes back to establish his jab. Pop.
Oh, he was able to land a good left hook that time, Quartey.
Yep.
It changed things for a second. Another right hand
lands for Quartey. Not as bad as in the preceding round. Vargas a little slower than he was in the middle round.
Quartey stopped. Just can't stop when you're fighting an enthusiastic guy like this.
He fisted Vargas Valley against the rope. Crowd rises again. The cheer on the Mexican-American star as he tries to regain his initiative. 10 rounds in the books. Championship rounds upcoming.
Okay, take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. Let's keep it up. All right. Yes. Oh,
get the tape on the glove.
Okay.
Get the tape on the glove.
11. We're going to 11 round. We're going to 11 round. Okay. All right. Okay. Just keep it up. Only 2 rounds.
Get the
2
tape.
rounds more.
Get that glove. Come on, let's go. Let's get the glove.
Doing good. Fight is good. Don't let him walk you down to the rope. Cuando le pones straight to you, step around. Cuando le pones presión, no hace nada, Fernando. Tenemos que seguir poniendo
So
presión.
many times in this fight, we've seen this scenario. And no matter who gets the edge in there, the fact that Vargas is pushing Quartey against the ropes probably will influence the judges most.
Too much Vaseline.
Come on, get that towel.
Now remember,
Get the towel. Get the tape.
Quartey feels that he was robbed.
Wipe some of that off. You got too much on here.
In the
All right, let's
6th
go.
round of the De La Hoya fight.
The De La Hoya fight, and he never came on in the last round, despite the fact that he knew that it was going to be hard to win a decision. He's faced with the same situation here. His right eye, incidentally, is closing.
Big left hook to the body by Quartey. Very good point, Larry. He stated before the De La Hoya fight that he didn't think he could win a decision from De La Hoya in Vegas, and he came out and fought the 12th round as though he thought he'd won the fight. Can't have it both ways. He has already said the same thing here, that he needs to knock Vargas out. But yesterday, in our conversation with Quartey, he backed off of that and simply said, I'll beat him.
Vargas' corner has done a good job of reviving him. They've refreshed him in the corner.
Vargas has a strong corner with Eduardo Garcia and Roger Bloodworth. Two pros who know what they're doing.
This means the whole difference right here. How refreshed is he this round?
At this weight level, we're watching a pretty good replica of the great fight between Morales and Barrera. The back and forth thing, never 5 seconds without something serious going on.
And because of its significance, this becomes the fight of the year. Although it would be impossible for anything to match the sustained action minute to minute.
Quartey is waiting on that big right hand. He's waiting for the right hand, and he's countering over it.
Vargas walked right into it.
Turns his shoulder a little bit and rolls and counters.
But Quartey's punches not landing as heavily now as they did in the night.
Both fighters are tired.
Both fighters have a right to be flat out exhausted.
When you're an experienced fighter and tired, you're just as tired as an inexperienced fighter.
Quartey getting back up on his feet and landing that jab. Chopping left hand by Quartey.
Vargas is keeping that left hand almost to his waist now.
More trickling blood from Vargas's nose. Vargas trying to land to the body when Quartey comes close, but paying a price to do it as Quartey lands his right hand. Now Vargas able to pin Quartey against the ropes again, lets him go. Vargas not as sure of himself there.
Quartey had a chance and he let him slip away.
This round may win the fight for Vargas or cement it.
He's regained control, and that closing right eye for Vargas isn't helping him at all. I mean, for Quartey. Vargas starting to land his left hook against Quartey's closing right eye.
We got one more round to go. That's it.
Falta el último. Ya no te hizo nada este cabrón. Es de nosotros.
This is the last round. This is the last round. You know, he's going to try to pressure you. Don't allow him. You know, he's going to rush you. But just try to ward off his pressure, okay?
Tómese, no le hace, tome poquito.
All right. Hey, calmly, nicely.
Es el último round.
This is the last round. Get some air.
Muchas ganas este round, eh?
Okay, we need this round. We need this round. Mix it up. Sneak in some jabs, please. Breathe in. Take a deep breath. We need this round. This is the last.
All right. Both fighters flailing a little bit. Both fighters tired. I thought that Quartey had conflicting advice in the corner. First they said to him, don't let them come to you, get away from him. Then they say, you need the rounds.
Harold, how do you have it going to the last round?
Okay, Jim. 7-3, 1 even, 106, 102, Fernando Vargas. Jim, I think when it really counted, when the fight got really close, Fernando Vargas won rounds 10 and 11. And that's what's given him this lead. I really think he pulled it off when it counted.
In the 11th round, by CompuBox numbers, Quartey only threw 43 punches. Not enough. Vargas threw 71. As these guys have been saying, this could turn out to be the difference in the fight. Now, you heard Quartey's corner finally settle on the notion that he must have this round. They told him the same thing against De La Hoya, and De La Hoya dominated the 12th. Let's see what Vargas can do.
Quartey has held out for one shot at a time, a little too long. You've got to put in 6 or 7 if you want to drop this guy.
Left landed, but along the wrong side of Vargas's cheek to do real damage.
You have to land a right hand and come back
Quartey is
with a hook.
acting as though he thinks all he's got to do is win the round. He doesn't know that he probably has to win the fight here.
Well, he's going to claim he was robbed again. If Vargas gets this decision, I'll bet you anything Quartey will say he was robbed. That's the kind of arrogance like Quartey has.
It's a lot closer fight in my mind because of the other guy been the aggressor. Quartey has been the aggressor.
Yes, he's been walking forward through the whole fight. And you're right, that can affect scoring, no question. Particularly in Las Vegas.
A lot closer.
think Harold's scorecard with a 4-point margin for Vargas may be a little loose.
It may be a little loose in the mind of a lot of people.
And I'll tell you one thing that will not help Quartey in the scoring is the way that right eye looks.
It makes Vargas
look. That's right. It makes Vargas look like a winner.
Well, you know, if a 10-year-old kid came here and looked at these two guys and said, who do you think won the fight? He'd say Vargas. Quartey's the guy who's taken more of a beating.
It's not a hard choice.
You trust a big guy like that, and you just can't put a dent into him.
And guys, one other thing for you. Vargas is winning the 12th round.
He's not trying to sit on a lead. He's trying to close the deal.
Quartey has tried everything he could, but it just didn't work.
He went up against a terrific big right hand by Quartey. Good right hand. Come on, give me more. They trade shots again. 15 seconds to go in a great, great fight. Two warriors, one war. This crowd will rise and appreciate both fighters for the tremendous effort they put forth. Tremendous, tremendous fight.
I had Vargas clearly winning the fight.
The obligatory victory ride for both fighters. In the 12th round, Quartey, by CompuBox numbers, threw 46 punches. Vargas threw 70.
And so, as we have noted, in the past, he's wound down in the late rounds, in the championship rounds, and in these championship rounds, he was throwing 40 punches. Not enough punches.
To beat a young, strong warrior who never gave up.
But that aggressive, jabbing and following this around, following this guy around, who's a champion running from you, who's bigger, could sway a judge and do it easily.
We shall see. We shall see.
Ice green gold, I give it to him on the draw, but then if a draw, it goes to the champion.
I hear what you're saying. You're suggesting that Quartey will do better with the scorers than we may think because of the momentum of the fight, which saw him walking forward most of the time. And you saw that replay action from the 12th round. Hard to imagine they went the distance dealing out that much punishment to each other.
Great fight.
Great fight. Couple of real pros. Harold Letterman, what was your final card?
I'll get Jim 116, 111, 8-3, 1 even, ferocious Fernando Vargas. Jim, the championship rounds, he pulled it out, and that's 10, 11, and 12. No question, Vargas won those rounds. Sensational rounds in rounds 6 and 10. Vargas won both of them. I mean, it was like Quartey coming forward, one jab at a time. Ferocious Fernando Vargas, vicious combination.
I think this should do nothing to diminish Quartey's stature. He fought a great fight. He just went up against a kid who rose to the top of his game the night that he needed to do it. Let's go to Michael Buffer and end the suspense. Who won the fight?
Ladies and gentlemen, we go to the scorecard. Dave Moretti scores the bout 116 to 111. Glenn Hamada has it 114 to 113. Jerry Roth scores it 116 to 111 for the winner by unanimous decision. And still, the undefeated junior middleweight champion of the world, the Aztec warrior, ferocious Fernando Vargas.
Final punch stat numbers. Academic now. Vargas gets the victory that vaults him to superstar status. He landed 117 more punches than did his opponent. Perhaps more importantly, he threw 264 more punches over the course of 12 rounds than his opponent. That's an average of more than 20 punches per round difference in their output. It was simply Vargas's energy and his desire, George, that gave him the fight.
An honest decision.
Yeah, I think it's a good decision.
An honest decision.
Yeah, I mean, the scorecard that was close, you can't argue with that one. 1 point either way, but a tremendous effort, and power punches tell the tale. 107 more power punches landed for Vargas. And again, he threw 249 more than did Quartey. That was the real difference in the fight. Desire, George. He just wanted it so much.
And I think that Quartey gets back into the 147 division, we can get him a title.
Let's go to Larry Merchant with the winner.
Thank you, Jim. Congratulations, Fernando. What won this fight for you?
I mean, I've always told you that I've been the type of fighter that I like it when people say I can't do things, and I'm unable to prove them wrong. Tonight was that night. I want to thank all my fans from Oxnard, baby. We did it one more time, and we're going to continue doing it.
Did your experience in your last fight against Winky Wright help you in any way to prepare for this?
Most definitely. I mean, I know what it was to go 12 rounds against a slick southpaw, even on a bad night. I was still able to pull together and show what type of fighter I was.
It seemed that during most of this fight, Quartey had a kind of grin on his face as though he was saying to you, I'm going to get you eventually, kid.
Well, this kid's a little smarter than that. You know,
what was your plan to neutralize his best stuff?
I mean, I know he had a solid jab and it got in a couple times. But, you know, I think I did a way more better performance than another fighter would fight him. You know, obviously my fight wasn't close with him, and De La Hoya was. So, you know, I think I proved with my type of experience, I still need more experience to be even a greater fighter, but I think that showed a lot.
In the middle rounds, you were throwing tremendous numbers of punches. Were you and your corner a little concerned that you were getting too excited and that you might have a problem later in the fight? Did you try to slow the pace down a little bit?
I had to slow down the pace. I mean, I noticed that when I started landing some good, solid shots, I'll back him up a little bit. And, you know, he's a tough fighter. He came to fight, but I was able to be the best man today.
What's next? You've had 19 professional fights. Do you still want to go up to the top level? What does that represent for you?
I got to say one thing, and I want to say it in Spanish because I know he can understand it. Tito, creo que eres un gran peleador. Quiero enseñarte. Y yo creo que tú eres el único que no me tienes miedo y que sí peleas conmigo a tratar de unificarme a este peso. Quiero enseñarte que este mexicano no corre y sí pelea. Translation. Tito, you're a great fighter. I think you're the only one that will step up and try to unify this division. I want to show you that this Mexican will fight.
You'll fight. You want to fight Trinidad next?
I want to fight Trinidad next. I think he's a great fighter, but I want to show him that how a real Mexican represents.
Thank you for a great fight.
Oxnard, baby, we did it one more time.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. All right, Jim.
Wait, Fernando. 22-year-old Fernando Vargas vaults himself to superstar status into the inner circle occupied at this weight level by fighters like Oscar De La Hoya and Felix Trinidad. He does so with a victory over Quartey. Do you worry about a fighter like Vargas taking so much punishment from a puncher like Quartey in a fight like this at this stage of his career?
He was big enough to absorb a lot of that. It's not going to hurt him. He was the bigger guy. If it had been on the other side, I would worry.
Let's go back up to Larry with Quartey.
All right, thanks again, Jim. Ike, we would like you to do this interview in your native Ga so that we can get your exact words through our interpreter. Is that all right with you? All right. So let me ask you. Was he, despite his youth, much better than you thought?
Let him come. I don't know what to tell you.
You know, it says, I don't know what to tell you. I just don't know what kind of response I'm going to give right now.
Was this a more definite fight than your fight with De La Hoya? Do you feel in this fight that the verdict was fair?
is ridiculous.
No, he's saying that what fight did you watch? I mean, he's saying that 116, 111 is just too much. You know, the difference is too great. He feels that it should be a closer fight.
160 the third time. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to tell you.
Third time, you know, that
they do that to the first. They do that to Oscar. And it's the third time. I don't know what to say.
Thank you very much. Congratulations on still making a great fight for us, Quartey. Jim?
Tough moment for Quartey. George, all great fighters have pride, and Quartey's pride is manifested once again in his belief that he didn't get a fair shake from the scorers. It's hard to imagine how he would have felt otherwise.
Ice Green and Gold did well. I'd like to see him back in action. I'd like to see him do it soon. He can still be a world champion. He's got the stuff.
But you feel as though this showed he should go back to 147.
I think that because in the latter rounds he was taking over, but the other guy was just a little too bigger and had landed too much power shots to his body to really come on and launch that second period campaign to do it all.
Let's talk about real big guys for a second, because we're going to take a moment to look ahead to something which takes place April 29 in Madison Square Garden. We'll be bringing it to you live via TVKO, HBO's pay-per-view arm. It's the first postmodern heavyweight championship fight. We arrive at a new millennium. The era of the 21st century heavyweights is now upon us. 2 weeks from tonight, a combined 13 feet and 500 pounds collide when undisputed heavyweight champion Lennox Lewis defends his coveted crown against rising superstar Michael Grant.
These are not your grandfather's heavyweights. This will be the most combined weight in a heavyweight title fight in history.
For Lewis, 6'5", 250 solid pounds, overconfidence may be his hidden opponent. Underestimating the up-and-coming Grant, a colossal presence himself at 6'7" and 250, could be a costly mistake. However, Grant has scant experience in the kinds of pressure fights Lewis has been handling for almost 8 years.
Michael Grant has to realize I'm undisputed. And I've been at this game for a long time, so any situation that comes up, I can definitely adapt. Whether he can is a question.
Experience has its role, but also sometimes a role is conquered by determination. A role is conquered by motivation to go out there and do it consistently.
Lewis is confident. Lewis thinks he's too seasoned for Grant. He thinks, you know, he's a teacher in there with a kid. And he might be right.
He's just what we call hurry come up. That means he came up in a hurry. That means he's going to go in a split second.
Lewis's supreme confidence could also stem from his devastating first-round blowout of Andrew Galata. By Lewis, Galata goes down! The very same opponent who 5 months ago sent Grant twice crashing to the canvas in the first round. Right hand by Galata deposits Grant right on the seat of his pants.
To have gone through that makes you stronger if you survive it. It does. And it makes you less panicky next time. And it just makes you more whole.
Grant not only survived, but showed heart and will in hanging on, recovering, and eventually persuading Galata to quit the combat.
Will to win is a great weapon. And Lewis haven't shown that in his whole career. Michael has shown.
I give Michael Grant a lot of credit for not only coming off the canvas in the fight with Galata, but also in general. If you notice, most of Michael's fights he's won in the later rounds. He has shown tremendous stamina and ability to come on strong at the end.
Another storyline, which Lennox Lewis shows up on April 29? The merciless aggressor who thrashed Galata, or the cautious boxer who twice frustrated Evander Holyfield?
I'm definitely going to be blazing out there. There's a big possibility that I could go in there and get rid of Michael Grant in 1 round.
I expect Lennox to come out there and just windmill it. I mean, right, left, uppercuts, everything in his arsenal at any given moment. And now this is where I dig deep and take the fight to him.
The giant heavyweight showdown happens April 29 at Madison Square Garden. Live on TVKO pay-per-view from HBO. Nobody knows more about big heavyweights than the quintessential big heavyweight, George Foreman. George, Lewis says he's going to come out guns blazing. Grant says that's what he expects. But if there's one thing Lewis demonstrated in his 2 fights with Holyfield, it is that he's a superior technician. Why would this be a war instead of a boxing match?
This fight has got it all. One way and the other. Lewis is the other. Look, listen, if Grant makes up his mind to turn that left jab over American style, stay right there until the 5th, 6th, 7th round, he can be a new heavyweight champion. He's got the stuff to do it. Lewis has got a lot of overconfidence.
So you believe Emmanuel Stewart is on the right track when he talks about the problem of facing Grant, who gets better in the late rounds and who has stamina?
It's very seldom you can beat these good champions. You got to wait until they beat themselves.
All right. Larry Merchant, your take on what we might see in terms of the style of the fight between Michael Grant and Lennox Lewis.
Well, these giant men fight in a different way than other guys do. Very few of them have the stamina that the smaller men do. They have the same size heart, lugging around 250 pounds, more pounds. But Grant has shown, as Emmanuel Stewart said, that he's able to sustain himself longer than we've seen many of these really big guys do. What he has going for him is youth and ambition against a solid champion who is going to be close to 35 years of age. That's his chance. I think he's got a real chance.
Well, it sounds to me as though I'm standing between two guys who lean toward picking Michael Grant to upset Lennox Lewis for the heavyweight championship of the world, and that alone makes it exciting for all you American sports fans. Meanwhile, Larry, before we go to our website results, a final word on Fernando Vargas and what he accomplished here tonight.
Well, he accomplished a few things. First of all, he put himself into the mix, into the future round robins that we're likely to see at this weight with Trinidad, De La Hoya, when and if he moves up, and so on. And also someday it's clear that he will be a full-blown middleweight. This kid we saw as a rising star. Now I'm not sure I will say he's a star, or whether he's a shooting star or a fixed star, but we'll see very soon. He's an unusual young man to have the will, the ambition, and the sophistication that he has, and the fearlessness against older, more experienced, good opponents as he showed tonight. So Fernando Vargas is around a while. You remember early on we said this is a guy we'd like to have stock in. The stock market may go down, but this kid's stock is going up.
Yeah, and as much as the market tumbled Friday, the Vargas stock went up that big tonight. However, he still faces one huge challenge outside the ring. Twin aggravated assault charges to be adjudicated in California. The trial to come up in just a few weeks. These are felony charges. He's looking at 9 years in prison if, in fact, he were convicted and were to get the max. So that's a big obstacle facing Vargas. He says he's going to get by it somehow. We'll have to wait and see what happens in court. Meanwhile, we asked you earlier this evening to offer your opinion on the website as to who is the best 154-pound fighter in the world. And you had three candidates: Vargas, Quartey, and Trinidad. Interestingly, throughout the entire evening, it was Trinidad who was the leader in the poll. But when the decision in this fight was announced, you late balloteers swayed the verdict in favor of Fernando Vargas, chosen by half of you as the best fighter in the world at 154 pounds. We'll look forward to being with you in a couple of weeks from Madison Square Garden. Let's look ahead to some other programs upcoming here on HBO.
It's the premiere episode of The Corner, Gary's Blues.
Mr. Lemon say I'm the best worker he ever seen.
In the beginning, it was all good. Life had meaning, a purpose.
Oh, it's all right. Oh, it's all right.
Then came a crossroad.
Got none. I ain't got none. Get away from me. Get away from me.
Which path would he take?
Well, I'm locked up. Officer!
Based on a true story, The Corner, Part 1 of the 6-part miniseries. Sunday night at 10 on HBO.
He dominated pro basketball like no one else before him. Bill Russell had the game.
People were not cognizant of how great he was.
But more than anything, Bill Russell had the guts.
The important thing is not whether you won or lost, but the willingness to fight for yourself.
Sports of the 20th Century brings you the story of a man who didn't just play the game, he changed it. Bill Russell, My Life, My Way. Premieres Monday at 10 p.m. on HBO.
May 6th, tune at the early evening hour of 5:30 p.m. to see the premiere of HBO's new boxing series, KO Nation. On the first show, you'll see Paul Spadafora fighting in his hometown of Pittsburgh, PA, against Mike Griffith. KO Nation with a hip-hop feel, and we hope fresh fights. And by May 13, tune in to see another performance by boxing's best, Roy Jones Jr. This night, Roy will be taking on his mandatory #1 challenger, Richard Hall. It could be a mismatch. Earlier this evening, you saw Antonio Diaz stamp himself as a rising star at 140 pounds as Antonio Diaz worked toward a thoroughly professional technical knockout victory over the slick veteran Ivan Robinson. Robinson biting off a little bit more than he could chew by moving up again in weight, this time to 140. He was outgunned at that weight level. And then, in a brilliant battle between two of the best fighters in the sport, ferocious Fernando Vargas proved he should still be called precocious Fernando Vargas, as at only age 22, he vaulted to superstar status with a unanimous decision victory against Quartey in a vicious, hard-hitting battle which none of you who saw it will ever forget. Coming up immediately following our show, stay tuned for The Sopranos. And now for the entire HBO crew, I'm Jim Lampley saying so long from Las Vegas, Nevada. The executive producer of HBO Sports is Ross Greenberg. Tonight's edition of World Championship Boxing was produced by Dave Harmon and directed by Mark Payton. Feature producers Matt Boland, Thomas Odelfelt, and Max Siegel. The associate director, Kendall Reed. Assistants to the producer, Thomas Huffine and George Jakovic. Production manager, John McKelly. Technical supervisor, Bob Hunter. And the technical director was Doug Getz.
This has been a presentation of HBO Sports, the network of champions.